Welcome you one more time to the SEMAJ MINDSPA. Today we raise a question about dancehall culture, dancehall music, and the question basically is: has dancehall become the new emperor's new clothes? Maybe we need to do a little clarification here because not everybody has what we don't call cultural literacy, but it's just understanding the broad constructs of culture that we all share. Remember, as children, we learn a story about the emperor's new clothes, about this emperor who loved fine clothes and he would change clothes three, four times a day. And then there were some, we know them as con men nowadays, who came to the town and said that they make clothes with materials so perfect and so fine. Only the most intelligent and the best of people can actually see it. You can't see it if you're not worthy. So he understood and he took this to be literal and he heard about them. So he wanted some new clothes for this new parade coming up. And he went to see them. And when he walked in, they showed him the clothes. But he didn't see anything, but he couldn't say it. He didn't want to say that because it would mean that he is not the most excellent and the most intelligent. But nonetheless, they convinced him and they were well paid and they provided him with these brand new clothes. But the only thing is that the clothes were no clothes. So when he went for the fitting, they said the clothes is so light and it's so fine, you won't even feel like you're wearing anything. And right, he was wearing nothing. But he had to believe and he went along. And then in the parade, he was walking down the street totally naked. But everyone said nothing because they didn't want to seem as if they're not the most intelligent and the most woke. Hmm? But a little child said, but mommy, the emperor has no clothes. And another child said it. Another child said it. And before you know it, more and more people started to say it and to call it out. That's when the people realized. And then the emperor ultimately realized that he was naked. And so it is sometimes when people say nothing and the emperor is naked. We mean this literally and figuratively. Emperor's new clothes. Has dancehall become the emperor's new clothes? I raised a question related to pornography. Have we crossed the line? What's pornography? The depicting of erotic behavior, whether in pictures, in videos, in lyrics, the intention of which is to cause sexual excitement. That's the specific intention, sexual excitement and arousal. That's what's called pornography. Can we justify some of what we are now parading as dancehall and even to some extent soca? Can we? Is all music fit for all audiences? Well, I remember a discussion I had at a conference many years ago, a music conference, and it was proposed that there's a concept called raw versus cook, Professor Barry Chevans, and he said that's really what we look at the music. If you look at old time calypso, and in terms of the double entendre, and even some of the reggae music, that you could play that music in any context, but different meanings existed. Now, I was made to understand that when Bob Marley first penned the song that was called I Shot the Sheriff, the original lyric was I Shot the Police. But then somebody said, Bob, you can't really say that because that will come out wrong. But if you change it to sheriff, it has more poetic license, and boom, that was the first big Marley song that was actually covered by Eric Clapton, and it took off around the world. Huh? I remember a situation where Tony Rebel had a song called Chatty Chatty Mouth. And it's around the time when one station, RJR to be exact, said that they are not playing any music that glorify gun lyrics. And Other station played the song and it was number one, but it was not on RJR. I called Donovan Germain, who was the producer, and I said, why don't you change just one line of the song? For everybody have a gun to everybody wish them had a gun. So it doesn't come out as prescriptive, but more descriptive. And Rebel did the dub plate, and the song became number one on RJR because they changed the lyrics. Today, things are a little different. We have a situation of life imitating art. Why do I say that? Adidja Palmer, he created Vybz Kartel. But then, by virtue of the testimony, he then became the person he sung about, Vybz Kartel. He's currently serving a long sentence. Desmond Ballantyne created Ninja Man. The original gun pan teeth, done gargan, kick out man teeth, and one holds a gun. Well, he's currently in prison on a murder charge. Did Ninja Man, who was a creation of Desmond Ballantyne, now become Ninja Man, in effect? Life imitating art. Are we heading in a strange direction? It is my understanding that all artists are teachers. So we technically should evaluate the lesson plans. What is it they're trying to teach? Now, interestingly, some artists will say what they're teaching, others won't. I remember that discussion with a number of persons who track the music business as such. Clyde Mackenzie reminds us that some of the art is catharsis, where the artist literally is vomiting all that hard, dangerous stuff out. But one has to be clear about those who are in the audience, that the artist is actually vomiting on the people. Remember, years ago, I had a conversation with Ibu Cooper, then with Third World, and we talked about the whole issue of giving the people what they want. And he said, but some of us have to give the people what they need. Why is it the cultural artist admits that we are teachers, but the other artists who are purveyors of gun lyrics, purveyor of unbridled sexuality, why don't they say that we are also teaching people? Why not? In 1985, folks, the RIAA, that's the Recording Institute of America, reached an agreement with the National Parental Association, and they agreed to specify that music released that had explicit lyrics, depiction of violence and sex, be identified so that parents should be able to make choices for their children. And so from 1985, music produced in the United States must carry a label if the target audience is adult by virtue of the sexual and the violent content. The then president of the RIA said, very interestingly, that all music is not for all ages. The music industry takes seriously its responsibility to help parents determine what is and what is not appropriate for children. That's why the record companies have created the Parental Advisory Label. This label is a tool to help parents make the choice about when and whether their children should be able to listen to a particular recording. So, from 1985, this has been the case. Interestingly, 10 years later, the British Parental Advisory Label was created in response to a campaign by parents, religious lobby, and politicians. Now, all our artists obey this rule when they publish works in the UK and the US. why not propose it for Jamaica? Some of what we're listening to now, very popular artists and so on. What's that content for? Is that for all audience? Is that appropriate for children? Or should there be a label on it in the Jamaican and the Caribbean context? Should there not be? Why are we so silent? Is it time for us to place parental advisory, adult content label on some of our music genres? The film industry does this. We have everything from PG to R, indicating who the music is intended for. It's important that you remember, folks, that listen, culture is like a river. Culture is like a river. We need to be ever vigilant as to what we excrete into the water, because there are people below us bathing and drinking downstream. Are we doing that? Shouldn't we be doing this? So I end with the same question and ask, has dancehall become the new emperor's new clothes? Is it that we are not seeing what the music is saying and doing? Is the music and the imagery intended for all audience? That it is presented in context for all audience? But if that same music was to be presented in the UK or the US, it would have to be labeled parental guidance. So those who have eyes to see, maybe we should open them. Maybe we should raise the question. Just maybe. It is my feeling that, folks, the emperor has no clothes.